I'm sorry, Andrew Weissman, but if I recall correctly, in 2018, you were one of the people who helped write the Mueller report, and you all botched the hell out of that.
And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought we would be here. I thought we were better as a country.
Oh, yeah.
Like all these sites that have been around for creating videos and all that, like text stock videos, they're done.
But that's why Canva was one of the first to get into doing AI.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. You know what? I'm going to turn this off. That's better. Thank you. I'm dark. I'm not that light. Sorry, no offense to non-melanated people out there. Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that team since 2020. Reached out directly and indirectly to over 300,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And we're broadcasting live on June 15th. Tomorrow is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to dads, fathers, and male caregivers, whether they're with us or not. Every day should be a Father's Day. Every day should be like a Mother's Day. Just want to include that. Also, want to say I am a featured content creator and also a member of the advisory board of IndieSoup.TV, which is run and powered by our good friend Dr. Tatch out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That is a platform that has about almost 30 now content creators, independent content creators, and in a little under 4 months, they have over 13,000 YouTube subscribers, which is very, very impressive. So you can check out a lot of the conversations that I host, edited versions, on that platform. So we're back broadcasting live Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa. We took a break last week, but we're not taking a break this week. Sorry. They're back. They're back. Happy to have them back. Like, what's that old song by Aerosmith? You're back. I'm back in the saddle again. Old Aerosmith song. Yeah. Unmute yourself, Aisha. Staggers, you are muted. We need you. There we go. Oh. Oh, like I said, what's going on, ladies? Great to have you back. Miss you much. I know I miss you much. Actually, I was in a conversation with someone this week, and I got into my musical groove, and I played the video remix version of All Right with Janet Jackson and Heavy D.
Yeah.
Man, that was so cool.
I like the video. It's a great video.
Oh, and Cab Calloway's in that?
Yeah.
What is the non-melanated lady famous dancer in that video?
Isn't that Sid Charisse?
Charisse? Yeah, maybe it is. All right, there we go. What's up? What's going on, ladies? What's been going on in your worlds?
Lots of stuff, but you do know today we did lose a very awesome singer, Angela Bofield.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, there's just some certain singers that just really sit in my heart. She's one of them. Patrice Rushen is another. I absolutely love her, of course, but there's just certain singers that, when they're singing, you're feeling every word that they're saying. And Angela Bofield was one of those. And she was 70 years old.
Yeah. She did a really nice duet with Phyllis Hyman.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? I was going to mention that name because when you mentioned
think of Angela Bofield, you think of
a whole bunch of sort of categorized in that genre.
Yeah.
Wow. Angela Bofield. Oh man.
Yeah. No, we lost a great today. Yeah. I felt like we really needed to mention her because she definitely is a pioneer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Juneteenth is this week.
Yes. This Wednesday. Yeah, I know. At least we got something.
Well, actually, we got a whole lot, so we're going to talk about that.
Oh, well, there we go. We do have some things. LaLa, love the background.
Thank you.
Finally came
New
over.
office.
Yes.
I love my office. So I'm still working on the lighting a little bit, but that's okay. It's getting there.
Wonderful. And in the house, JJ Mars from Colorado. How is weather in Colorado, Mr. JJ Mars? What is going on? Good to have you in the house. Good stuff. Good stuff. So what else has been going on? LaLa's reconstructing. Aisha K, what you been up to?
Just
things.
watching and surviving.
All right. But, and it's maybe one day we'll record some of our pre-conversation or after-show conversation chat and maybe release that on Patreon, maybe.
Yeah. But actually, our last 10 and 10 that LaLa and I did was more of a chat. It was a topical chat. We talked about motherhood, empty nesting, supporting LGBTQ, because it is Pride Month, supporting our LGBTQ kids.
Wow.
And it was like a talking with your girlfriends, and that's what we called it. And so I reposted it on our Patreon today. I opened it up to anyone who goes to the Patreon, so you can see that kind of conversation that we had. We're going to have more of those coming up. So it was a great conversation that we had. And so
we'll get you wine glasses off of the store because you're sitting down with your girlfriend.
Yes, we laughed. Oh my God, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And we also, we talked about that thing that we no longer get because everybody's so far away, where you don't get to sit around the kitchen table and have these conversations with your friends like you like to, with a glass of wine and just chilling. And we were able to do that. So,
yeah.
Well, I love both your lives, but especially when LaLa goes, ha ha, when she gives one of that's when you've hit the chord. When you I go, see, I listen to y'all. And
we have a good time. We have a good time.
Aisha laughs.
We do. I've got 40,000 shows. You're busy, and you get to listen to us too.
Of course, because I listen, care about you all. You family.
Oh,
now
we do. We have a good time doing it, though.
Yeah, well, that's really, really good. Good segue, Aisha, because Primetime Saturday on Patreon. There is the link. Primetime Saturday store. There's the link. I'll share it on other platforms before we finish up today. Join the Discord group. Email me at vibe@vibeshow.com. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like Dr. Vibe on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And then if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I host, including this one, email me vibe@vibeshow.com. Also, jumping in, Ryan. You know what I love about Ryan? Ryan was an intern for me a few months ago, but he's almost consistently now coming in on every Saturday evening show.
Oh, thanks, Ryan.
Appreciate the support. And Ryan did, and actually while he was with us, he did all the editing for this show.
Nice. Thank you, Ryan.
So, and he really enjoyed it. He thought it was really fabulous. JJ Mars says it's a hot Colorado day. Yeah, it's actually it's a nice Toronto day. Nice next week in Toronto it's supposed to be hot, hazy, and humid. So
he said humid.
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 Humid. Not humid. Humid.
It's summertime now.
Well, Well, in Toronto, we're more people complain about traffic. So we just say in Toronto, we have 2 seasons, winter and construction.
Yeah.
My sister was actually just in Toronto.
You're kidding.
Mm-hmm. About a week ago.
You should have told me. I would have loved to have met.
I only knew when she came back.
Man, that's really good relatives. Oh, I was somewhere a week ago. Oh, great. Okay. Well, you tell your sister she disappointed Dr. Vibe. She'll probably go, who the heck is that? Whatever.
She listens to the replay. So.
Okay, well, you're gonna listen to the replay. Aisha's sister, I'm disappointed. You owe me and Aisha. All right. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. All right. Let's rock and roll. Let's get advertisers out of the way, and let's get to, usually Saturday afternoons. Sometimes I sweat. We get a whole bunch of conversation topics, and each one of these could be a standalone.
Yeah.
Like I said to Aisha, which one are we going to lead off with? Because
Yeah,
each
'cause
one
they're
of these, each one of these are a standalone. So we have picked this one to start off first. The long list of things President Biden has done for Black people that most Black people don't know about. So Aisha and LaLa, because a few weeks ago we did a comparison.
Right.
There was an article we compared articles of what each one has allegedly done. But now Aisha wants to come back and talk about President Biden. So go for it.
Well, you know, I listen to the Clay Kane show on Sirius XM every Monday through Friday, 12 to 3. And on Tuesday, as I was driving, they were talking about this list of over 100 things that Joe Biden has done that directly impact Black people. I mean, Black people are in that specific, it mentions Black people in that specific thing that he did. So, you know, people come here all the time and comment and say, well, what has Joe Biden done for Black people? What has Joe Biden done for Black people? But the result that they want is either not to vote or to say they're going to vote for Trump, but never ask the question of what has Trump done for Black people. So, you know what? We did some research. I did some research and looked into it. And on whitehouse.gov, they have a fact sheet about the advances in equity and opportunity for Black Americans across the country. These are the things that they have done. They have helped Black families grow economic opportunity through the American Rescue Plan, the Bipartisan Infrastructure, the CHIPS and Sciences Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act. And one of the things that comes through that is that they powered a historic economic recovery that created 2.6 million jobs for Black workers, okay? And achieved the lowest Black unemployment rate on record and the lowest gap between Black and white unemployment on record ever. They helped Black working families build wealth. Black wealth is up by 60% relative to the pre-pandemic, the largest increase on record. They cut in half the number of Black children living in poverty in 2021 through the child tax credit that the Republicans repealed. Okay? Yeah. The Republicans repealed at Donald Trump's insistence. So they also have invested $4 billion to reconnect communities that were previously cut off from economic opportunities by building transportation infrastructure, and these include Black communities, okay? They connected an estimated 5.5 million Black households to affordable high-speed internet connectivity through the Affordable Connectivity Program, closing this, what they say is closing the digital divide for millions of Black families.
Which is much needed.
Right. They help Black businesses grow by achieving the fastest creation rate of Black-owned businesses in more than 30 years and more than doubled the share of Black business owners from 2019 to 2022. They improved the Small Business Administration's loan program to expand the capital to Black and brown communities. Okay. And so since 2020, the number of dollar value from the SBA loans to Black-owned business specifically has more than doubled, okay? They launched a whole government effort to expand federal contracts to small businesses. Specifically, this targets Black and brown-owned businesses. So there's $69.9 billion that go to disadvantaged communities, disadvantaged businesses, largely Black and brown. And the list goes on and on and on. 10 billion here. They tried to get 22 billion to Black farmers. And the Black farmers are suing the Biden administration, which is upsetting to me because it tells me that people do not know how these things work. The House of Representatives holds the purse strings. They are sitting on that money. They will not bring it to the floor to even vote for it. So the Black farmers aren't getting money because of Republicans in the House. And then these are just some of the things that he did. The list, you can see the list of executive orders that each president has done throughout their history, going back several presidencies. And I looked at those. Every executive order, they're very long, and there are over 100. And so many of them are for Black people, but we also are concerned. Like, we're like, oh, why don't we do anything to help Africa? And guess what? Those are in the executive orders. There's a lot of them that go specifically to Africa in helping that. They have an executive order to offer funds to protect East Palestinians. The people talking about, oh, we're not going to fight because of the war and God. No, guess what? I didn't even know that yesterday.
Wow.
And then I read it. And so these are the things. So you can look at that website. Those are his executive orders just for 2022. And if you I looked at what Donald Trump's executive orders were and which ones targeted Black people. And there was only one that he just kept re-signing each year. And that was to support, listen to this, what was it, like champion excellence among HBCUs. I'm sorry, I went to an HBCU. Black excellence is kind of their thing. That's their brand. Okay.
Yeah.
Since they started, they didn't need Donald Trump to help to, say he's gonna, rally behind Black excellence at HBC. No, he had no money behind it, no funding or anything, which means guess what that man did? Absolutely freaking nothing. But when you look at the rest of the executive orders, the things that, Obama did for Black people, I was surprised because people always say, what did Obama do? His list it's not as long as Biden's, but he's got a lot of things in executive orders that he did that Black people do not know about. And when you go and you look at Trump's first year of executive orders, the main thing he did was repeal every last executive order Barack Obama did to help Black people.
Yes, he did. But then look at his history. I think part of the thing that we have to also consider, everyone keeps asking, what has Biden done? Of course, I feel like the Biden administration is not doing as much as they should for getting the word out. However, you have to look at Trump's history with the things that he did in New York, with the now coming out where it's very clear that the N-word was very much used on The Apprentice. This is telling you who he is and what he is planning to do with Black people and brown people. Not to mention that he, to me, is directly tied to the 2025 project. If he gets into the office, that will be instituted out into everything. Now, I'm going to tell y'all, if you still don't know what the 2025 is, you need to go back and listen to the show where Aisha and I went through everything about that, because this is dangerous. So your question now should be, do you want that 2025 in your life? Because it doesn't matter if you're Black, brown, green, or blue. You're not going to have your rights if you don't fit into their agenda.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is that when you go back and read the executive orders, as I said, I was reading his first year of executive orders. And in there, I don't know if you have that screenshot that I sent you, Dr. Vibe, but in there specifically, he had one to rearrange the executive branch of government in order to give himself more power. He tried to do it in 2017. If he goes through and wins, not only will he sign that as an executive order, the House, the Senate will pass it into law, which also means restructuring, also means term limits.
Yes. Yes.
Term limits. He could put the DOJ, which is supposed to operate as a separate entity in the executive branch. He will put that under his thumb, where it's not a separate entity in the branch. It is the branch.
And you do know who's not going to have term limits, right?
Right. Because guess what? The other thing too, I think what people are forgetting or not knowing in history is we actually had something similar in our government. What do you think J. Edgar Hoover was doing to stay in power and control of the FBI, head of the FBI, for more than 50 years?
That's right.
Five decades, many presidents. He was there. He was there from the 30s until the 70s.
Yes.
Like maybe the late 20s to the 70s. That is a very long time.
That's your career.
And remember, the president gets to appoint the head of the FBI. But J. Edgar Hoover, and I interviewed an author who actually wrote a book about this with J. Edgar Hoover. The thing with J. Edgar Hoover is that he would go to these presidents and say, hey, I got this information about this secret that you have. Now, it could get out, but I'm going to do everything I can to not have it get out. And I will protect you. I just need to stay here. But if I leave, somebody else will release it. And that he did that with JFK. He did that with Lyndon Johnson. He did that with Eisenhower. He did that with with everybody. Because think about it. By the time J. Edgar Hoover left, what was the first thing that came out? The Nixon tapes.
Yeah.
So if he was still in power, he would have protected him from that. Because clearly Nixon did that before 1972. He had to be doing it in 1968 and probably went along with it, but was like, oh, I'm not doing this. So so
you see how all this ties in.
And so we need to have that authority figure.
It's a whole waterfall of garbage that's getting ready to happen in the United States. And I don't think that the American people really understand the ramifications. We're so busy out here just trying to survive with inflation, with daily shootings. Literally, there was a man walking down the street in California just shooting people at random. Don't know why. Just started walking down the street and killed a father of 4. Just driving home from work. No vendetta, no reason, just decided he was going to do this. Now, the GOP has actually happy celebrating because the Supreme Court,
the bump stop.
You can do all this stuff with these guns now. So they are already instituting, because they know they have enough power right now to get certain things through before the changing of guards. If there is a changing of guards that's coming, they're doing absolutely everything they could possibly do to line up with this Project 2025.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be one of the first things he's going to do is pardon Steve Bannon and Weisselberg, or the guy.
Exactly.
I know we're not going to chat about it today, but I think in the near future, we have to take a re-dive in about what's going on with the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
That's a whole show.
The stuff that I'm listening to about is Alito and his wife having a confrontation with someone in their neighborhood, and and by one morning
the flag was upside down.
The flag was upside down. And him saying, well, I had nothing to do with it. I go,
you can say that, but our Constitution specifically says that you cannot hang the flag. That is not the proper way to display a flag. Only do that if there is an emergency or something of that nature. She was doing this to get back at people who had a Biden sign on their yard. It's
and we just had Flag Day, so I want y'all to know my post was all about what the flag was, and I said you're not supposed to hang it upside down.
Yeah, and then she's talking about creating a flag that says enough in Italian with flames, and she's a nut. She's a nut.
But so is Ginny Thomas.
Okay, so let me bring it back. But certainly we have to have, there's the stuff I'm hearing about the Supreme Court is just like going, that's wacko.
And that is something else that as Black people, we have to start caring about what's going on in the Supreme Court. Like what they did with the Fearless Fund was outrageous. They said that these women, Black women, cannot give grants to other Black women.
Yeah, exactly.
Period. That's what they said. Okay. But guess what? Joe Biden expanded those loans, remember, for small Black businesses. So the grants were just, icing on top of a nice cake, and the Republicans went and just smashed the cake. And not only that, yes, they rolled back affirmative action in college admissions. They are piece by piece by piece undoing the critical legislations of the 20th century that advanced Black excellence, period. Okay. And that is going to be the thing that they're focused on in 2025. You're worried about what 2025 is about. What is it about? It is literally about putting Black people, people of color, LGBTQ people, and women of every advancement they have made in the last century.
All right, let's get back. Anything else? So what is the Democratic Party doing a good job putting its message out?
No, and that is the problem. No. That is the problem. The surrogates aren't out there yet, which in my mind, they should be out there. Like a Gretchen Whitmire needs to be out there. They need to have her out there talking about these things because she's well respected in Michigan. She's well respected among Black folks there. She's well respected among people who are independents there. So yeah, the surrogates need to be pushing these messages, but also whoever is advising Biden, they need to stop having him not give interviews. They're being worried that he's going to look like a senile old man. Guess what? He's old. Period.
Yeah, they both
he's
are.
Old, but he's sharp. And so he might stumble and fumble some words, but guess what? That comes with age. Like I told our pre-show, I sat with 6 generations of my family this year, like last week. My grandparents, they're in 89. Sometimes they forget things, but guess what? When they tell it like it is. Their generation does. So they need to let him do this. They need to let him talk about these things. It's not egomaniacal like what Donald Trump does, but it's information that people need, because otherwise I feel that the rate that they're going now with the messaging, and that the black hole of misinformation and disinformation is getting bigger, that I feel that Joe Biden's not going to win.
No, and that's very frightening.
Right.
But here's another point. Like this week, Trump was out on the campaign trail, which why the frick is he out there in the first place as a convicted felon? Oh, well. Mm-hmm. He's out there and his teleprompter got screwed up. And he went off on this tangent that was so out there on Mars that it was frightening. But yet everybody wants to call our current president Sleepy Joe, or he's getting old, or whatever. When Trump was out there just saying anything he needed to say just to get through, that didn't make sense. He literally told the people what is in his heart, which was, I don't care about you.
I just want your vote. Yeah, the funny thing about that too, LaLa, was that that revealed that he is also old.
Thank you.
I don't understand why the conversation is about Joe Biden's age. Let's talk about Donald Trump's age, right?
The same.
At his age, he is, put it this way, he is so demented. He had to get that thing that he talks about, oh, I aced it. That was a cognitive exam for dementia.
Yes,
okay? It wasn't an IQ test like he wants people to think. It was to see if you have any signs of dementia. Talking about getting either executed by a shark or eaten by the shark is how he'd rather die. He'd rather die being executed. What was that? It was a bunch of word salad that made no sense. But here's the other thing. When he does these rallies, all he talks about is the revenge. All he talks about is how things are working against him. Guess what he does not talk about? What he's going to do for you and your families. He never talks about that. Okay? Ever. He has no plan. The Republican platform for this presidency, the political platform, is to get back at Trump's adversaries and to not do anything in the House or the Senate and let the Supreme Court decide all these pertinent issues of our time.
Which is in his pocket. And also, let's not forget, all the people, as soon as Trump just got out of office, was voted out, have now switched allies again. You know, they talked about him like a dog. Mitch McConnell was like all against him. And once again, they're back in his bed. But later on, we're going to talk about how he's spanking some of those people.
Yeah.
And now you're going to see that, oh, we upset Big Daddy. This is not good, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all think that this is better?
Mm-hmm.
So your question shouldn't be what is Biden doing for Black people? It should be, how much more damage is Trump going to do to our communities?
We are trillions of dollars in debt, and that is because of the Trump tax cuts. That tax cut expires January 1st, 2025. And guess what? That, you know what Donald Trump does? He goes to the businesses, because remember, that tax cut was for the wealthy. If you look at your taxes during that time, during the Trump administration and now,
yeah,
you notice that you paid more in taxes, income taxes, than you did prior to Trump being elected. 30% more. And the burden was placed on the middle class and the disadvantaged poorer folks. They got their tax breaks. They took your money that you pay in taxes and gave it to rich people. And what did
you're the ones who's getting the audit reports right now.
And what did Donald Trump say? He asked a multi-billionaire that, hey, if you infuse money into my campaign, I will give you the tax breaks that you want, even better than last time. Which means if Donald Trump gets into office, we're paying 30% more now. We're going to be paying up to 60%.
What frightens me is I had a conversation with someone who literally said that her vote is up for grabs for whoever gives her what she wants. This is frightening because they can promise you the moon before they get on the trail, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're going to get once they get into the office. If you're basing your vote on what someone is promising you before they even have the power, you have a problem, because he's not going to deliver that. He didn't deliver what he said he was going to deliver the first time, but he will deliver dictatorship this time.
And let's be clear. If you are undecided about the president, you know you don't have to fill in a box when you go to vote. You're not required to. But those down ballot races, if you say you're not going to vote, guess what you're not voting for? Your down ballot races in your state. And that's why your state, and remember, they overturned Roe v. Wade, kicked it back to the states. So if you don't vote, you also don't have a say in what happens in your state government. People are worried, well, the Electoral College is a funny thing. It's a fickle thing for the presidency. But guess what? Down ballot races are not subject to Electoral College. It's the majority wins. The person with the most votes.
The Liberties are on a rampage right now.
Yes, they are. They are trying.
They are on rampage.
The book bans. I mean, we are at a point where, to quote Barack Obama, we're in the silly season of politics.
We are.
And the Moms of Liberty, for example, are trying to ban even more books. We've got districts that have thousands of books that have been banned by Moms of Liberty. But guess what? State legislatures got smart that when these these small counties and stuff, they go into the state legislatures like in Minnesota, and I forgot there were like 2 or 3 others, Colorado, I think, that I shared, that they are banning book bans. The state governments are trying to prevent these moms of liberty from doing this because they're banning things. They're banning left and right. They banned one author just because her last name was gay.
Yeah, which is absolutely ridiculous.
And her book was like a book about birds. It had absolutely nothing to do with the LGBTQ community, but because her last name was gay, they banned her book. They're banning books they don't even freaking read. Okay,
They don't bother.
They don't bother.
Don't read anyway.
Remember, those are the things that also count. Your local government. I mean, even your dog catcher is up for re-election. You know, your local city council, your school boards, your your town committee election is on the ballot. So the ballots are more than just about the presidency. They're more than just about the federal offices in the House and the Senate. They're also about your state. And then you go down, they're about your city government, mayors. We got mayors and things on the ballot. And, it gets down to that micro level. And so you've got to vote.
Got to vote.
All right. So we're a little bit past break time, but I don't interrupt the ladies when they're rolling. I sit back and enjoy the ride. So just before we go to break, April Watson says 45's plan is to push the war button. And good evening to my closest friend, Roger Dundas.
Hello.
Him and his beautiful wife, Camille, are the force behind the #1 Black Canadian online magazine called BuyBlacks.com. So I encourage everybody to support BuyBlacks.com. It is a great publication, and they're great people. So do the right thing. It's not just a black and white thing. Do the right thing and support them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for a quick break. And when we come back, some guy named 45 visited Washington for the first time in a while the other day. So we're going to come back with that. So hold tight, 90 seconds.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paige. I am a marketing consultant and the host of More Than a Mom, the podcast. I am here at the Soundwave Summit, and I had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Vibe, and the gems he dropped were unmatched. An accidental conversation really changed my whole plan. And if I had him 3 years ago when I started my consulting career, it would have made a major change. The biggest thing that I learned that I'm taking with me is understanding that I do not have a show, I have a solution. And I think that's something that's not talked about enough. Another thing that really adjusted my mindset was the power of positive language. I was telling him about some of my problems are asking for help. I'm always pouring into other people, but it's hard, and it's a problem that I can't get that same thing in return. And he said, it's not a problem. It's something that, what did you say? Not a problem. You said, oh, it's a challenge. It's something that's a challenge for me. And that simple adjustment of language, I went away to lunch and I called 4 people and I'm like, hey friends, we need to change our energy. We need to change our outlook. We are solution-driven people. We do not need to do things the way society tells us to do things. This checklist that we feel like we need to fall under, this 10-minute conversation we had, it changed up everything. So I'm so thankful for the gems. I feel like I'm going to go back and make a whole new to-do list that's based on how I need to do things, a different way of looking at things, and I'm just so thankful. So thank you, Dr. Vibe.
All right. Had a
nice.
chance to meet Paige at an event I was at about 2 weeks ago. She said, I asked her, hey, would you like to record a testimony? She said, sure, no problem. So there we go.
She's so cute. She actually looks like my sisters, 3 of my sisters, my daughters, I'm sorry, best friends. They're all triplets and they look like her.
Okay. Roger Dundas says, listening to the conversation tonight. Oh, Michelle Hayward is in the house. What is up, Michelle Hayward? So I'll put it out there. So Aisha, you back channel saying you'd love to write for Buy Blacks, but the thing is, I think it's only exclusively Black Canadian content. But I will ask Roger if you can be a featured columnist in regards to things outside of maybe Black Canada, maybe Black America, featured contributor. I will see if you will take that in, but certainly I know if it happens, it'd be a great collaboration. That's
because I think we need to support each other across the line. Support our. I think that's how we're going to have to grow our businesses, especially to protect ourselves if Project 2025 does come into effect, buying Black between Black Canadian businesses and Black American businesses.
Oh, you see this? What he said? U.S., here we come. Okay, so I'm gonna within the next 20. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna bug him on Father's Day. I may call him tonight after the show, but I'll see if we can make that conversation happen.
Yeah, because you know what? We've got to expand our markets.
Okay. Hey, no problem. I'm gonna do my best to make that happen. Let's move to our next conversation piece. 45 returns to the scene of January 6th crime and humiliates Marjorie Taylor Greene, telling her to be nice to Speaker Johnson after, her push to oust him.
It was three-toed camel got popped, huh?
And it wasn't just her that he humiliated. He humiliated Ted Cruz, Lindsey. The list goes on.
He called them all out. Basically, you put them all on notice that if he gets back in office, they will be spanked. Matter of fact, I would be very surprised if he would allow them in his circle. They are pawns to him. They're only as useful to him as much as they can get him everything that he wants, but he will throw them away immediately.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the fealty that was shown in that room, they gave him a birthday cake. Instead of putting his age there on candles, they put 45 because he was a 45th president. And then they stood there clapping for him even after he left the room. Okay. That is how insane this has gotten. Again, silly season in politics.
But he's telling you exactly. He's always told you what he is and who he is and what he stands for. Mm-hmm. He's telling her to stand down because he has this. He's got plans for this speaker. Okay. So he's telling her to stand down. I think he also notices that she is really getting a lot of negative press, and a lot of people are really getting a really nasty taste in their mouth for her on both sides. And the fact that everything that she does, every committee she goes to, every hearing she goes to, all she does is attack people. And I think he's telling his bulldog to stand down.
But I don't think it's even that. Remember, we're dealing with Donald Trump here. He doesn't like when her nonsense takes the media gaze off of him. That's what it is.
Yeah, he don't want his dull shine.
He doesn't like to be outshined, and he especially that bleach blonde, bad built, butch body thing has, like, when that went viral, it took away attention from him, and so it's like and he knows who caused that. And that was the sign.
So he is 45 being his usual strategic self.
Strategic? Yeah. I don't think he has any strategy. It's all about him.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. His strategy is about him. Like that's
the way he wants to see it.
But I didn't think I'd see the day where he'd tell Marjorie Taylor Greene, stand down.
Yeah, but you know what? But you know why this is? Because it's not just about her standing down. Remember, he wants to have him pushed out and input somebody who's more MAGA, just because he did one bipartisan deal with the Democrats to keep the government open. Okay, that's what this is about. That's why she's going after him. But what Donald Trump wants is not to have the chaos of last year when they couldn't get Kevin in for 15 rounds. And then after they ousted him, doing everything, because that would look like the House is in complete and total MAGA dysfunction. And that would come back to him in his race. He would,
Exactly.
he knows he would lose, and not only lose him, but they also have the potential to lose the House again, and he needs those Republicans in the House if he wins.
So what you're basically saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's basically saying, behave yourselves for me.
Yes. Yeah, that's about it.
Right? We are dysfunctional, but behave yourselves until November.
Yes.
Right.
Let's keep it together as a dysfunctional.
We're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. We are down to the final countdown.
4 months.
Well, I think even sooner than that, because the first debate is at the end of this month, is it not?
It sure is.
It's
the 27th.
Right. So that's another thing people may not realize inside and outside the United States. Election season isn't, by the time it gets down with this election to October-ish, it's already decided.
Yeah.
This debate coming up in the next few weeks is critical for, I think, more Mr. Biden than 45.
Right. And you said a word there about the elections already being decided by October. And it's not just the presidential elections that will be decided by October. Because remember, that is why all these states, particularly the southern states, are frantically trying to stop the redistricting, the redistricting that had to be done to make them more equitable, because they can't handpick the candidate that they want. This is because remember, it's about strategy of how to get people in office that they want to do their stuff. So they handpick the person who's going to win by gerrymandering. And so remember, this election is critically important, because if Donald Trump, all these appeals they're going to lose all these appeals. But if Donald Trump should get back in, the first thing those states are going to do is redistrict back into these districts that dilute the Black and brown vote. They dilute the vote of women. They dilute the vote of every underserved, underprivileged minority group out there. Period.
So you don't fit their agenda. Even if you're in their party, you don't fit their agenda. You don't look like them. You don't move like them. You're not in their economic bracket. So you're fooling yourself if you think you're a part of a family, when as soon as they get what they want from you and you've done your tap dancing, you're going to be outside the door talking about, but I did what you told me to do. They don't care about you. Yeah. Period.
And you know what? There's this conversation going around with the Black Republicans and the Black MAGA folks constantly. They're evoking Jim Crow, and I had to sit there and think about that for a while. They're evoking Jim Crow and saying it was better, that Black people were better off. The thing that the words might not exactly be there in the Project 2025 plan, but they're sending out their token spokespeople, their token surrogates to say this, hoping that it eases the blow, because I think they're going to return us to Jim Crow in 2025. And so they want us to feel comfortable with it. And that's why you have people like Byron Donalds going out there talking about Jim Crow, Tim Scott talking about Jim Crow period being better for us. That is the morphine that they're trying to feed in your mental vein, so that you're dull and numbed to the impact of what these policies are going to do.
Another strategy is they're actually wearing us all down. There's so many things that we have to watch and to be on guard with, and so many things that they are stripping us of that we're so up in arms about, that we are not seeing the whole picture, because some people grab onto the whole situation of this thing. Maybe they took away your reproductive rights. Okay, that's one little ball of people who are fighting just for that. The other one is they're taking away DEI. Okay, maybe that group of people are handling that. But what you have now is a fragmentation of what is going on and what is being taken away from us, that you don't have a collective understanding that this is all tied into a bigger plan. You only have people who are standing up for certain things, which is nothing wrong with that. You can stand up for that too. But when you have so many of them going on, you don't know where the ball is.
But isn't that politically smart?
For them, yes, because what I'm seeing is a lot of those who look like us don't know what to grab onto. This is why the question is from them is, what has Biden done for our community? Well, first of all, they don't get into what they need to get into by researching the things that Aisha presented to us today. Those things are absolutely easy to get to. You just have to want to get to it. Listen, if you want to know who's on the next season of Housewives and who's divorcing who and whose child is lesbian and who's not, then you can get just as involved into our government instead of those things that are taking your time away from the people who are actually taking your right away. Right. So it's your choice.
Yeah. And I urge people to go and look at those sources that I gave of all the things that Biden has done for Black people. And then the other thing I'm telling you that you absolutely have to do, every Black person, every Black and brown person in this country needs, every woman, every LGBTQ person, every person of color needs to read Project 2025. It is out there. It is free. You need to read it. It's long, but you need to read it to see what they plan on doing. And beyond that, we also should be upset that these people brought the person who incited the riot that damaged the Capitol building back into the Capitol building while he is indicted for inciting said riot in the building.
Which, if you've noticed, they've all lessened it. This now is no longer anarchy. This no longer is insurrection. This is good old American people doing what they should be doing out in the streets, protesting something that they don't like. But had it been Black and brown, you better know that there would have been a lot of murders that day.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Let me catch up because there's a number of comments as always flying in. So, haven't seen him in a while. Free Will says, I'm down with my sisters. 45 is a joke. He also says, she right all about him, 45. He says, I need to put this on the big screen so I can address these ladies by name properly. Well, I'll make it easy for you. The lady with the purple background is Aisha. The lady with the baby blue background is LaLa. So shorten that for you. Ryan says 45 almost always has a very emotional responses, and it's very easy to tell when someone isn't following his script.
Yes. He's also very sensitive and gets his feelings hurt easy. I think people have to remember that part too about him, because he watches, I tell you, he watches MSNBC. When someone says something negative about him, you know what he does? He goes back to his little social media platform, Truth Social, and rally and says something about said person. And you know what those people do? They go and swat their houses. Nicole Wallace, host on MSNBC, said that she got swatted.
Yeah, she got swatted. That's some serious stuff, y'all. That's
George
really
Stephanopoulos got swatted.
Stuff.
They are swatting the free press.
But don't forget what he also said, y'all. After this convicted thing, he told people to go find out who these jurors were. Right. He wants them outed. That's against everything that we stand for in America.
It's against the gag order.
To be jury duties to hold other people accountable. Mm-hmm. He wants them outed. You know what's going to happen.
Right. And that was against his gag order. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
This is a man who this week, he had to sit down with his probation officer so they could make recommendations for his sentencing, while he at the same time later that day is talking about outing the jurors. He needs to be put in prison because he needs someone. Like, my favorite line from one of my favorite episodes of Good Times, when Mad Dog puts his finger in Florida's face, and James says, "Mad Dog, if you don't get your finger out my wife's face, I'm gonna slap a muzzle on you." Somebody needs to slap a muzzle on Donald Trump.
Okay.
Exactly.
Free Will also says, "What up, Dr. Vibe? To the panel, playing it safe tonight. Don't want to offend anybody as I'm speaking from UM." So I don't know where I'm gonna guess that UM is University of
Michigan or Minnesota.
Michigan, I don't know which one. So you got to tell me where you are, my brother. Next up, let me just. So JJ Mars says, well, it could be an attempt to recreate the second era of Reconstruction, but he then corrected saying a post-Reconstruction era.
Yeah.
Free Will says neither 45 or President Biden has a grip on reality. House, finally.
I'm not too far off from him.
Jen Myers is finally here. What is up?
I'm really a little bit more curious about Free Will's comment about neither one has a grip on reality. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not like it's, like, I don't know if you missed the other part. We're talking about people being in their 80s, and I was talking about my 89-year-old grandparents. People in their 80s talk slow, they walk slow. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a grip on reality. Donald, you didn't hear Joe Biden go on a long tangent about nothing when he gave that speech in Normandy. The next day, Donald Trump gave a speech, which is insane.
Well, here's my thing. What I can agree with on that in my own brain is I honestly am pretty tired of 80-something-year-olds, 70 and 80-something-year-olds running this country.
Yeah.
That is my problem. I think we need new blood. And we did have new blood with Obama. And Obama did a lot of good things. And we must remember that the president is not the be-all, do-all. You must have the House and Senate behind you as well. So when they are split or one is higher in power, we are in more danger or less danger, depending on that. But myself personally, I'm pretty tired of old white men running this country.
I agree.
So let me. But
I gotta.
I was
gonna say, I have a question too. He says he's not voting for either one. Are you voting? Because we like I just said earlier before you came on to comment, was that you don't have to. You're not required to vote for the president. You don't have to check those boxes. But if you don't vote, your down ballot races are going to hurt you day one. Period. Yeah. Because those people run your state, your local government.
Okay, good. So one other thing then, are both of you saying basically if the Republicans are reelected, it's just going to be a country politically, at least from the federal level, geared to white males and just nobody else?
I agree with what
white males.
Yeah, I agree with what JJ Mars said about it being a return to the post-Reconstruction era. And if you don't know about the post-Reconstruction era, that was after they closed the Freedmen's Bureau, all those things. And then that was where you had the rise of the Klan. The number of lynchings, particularly Black men, escalated to a degree that, you can't even mention. That is when, and after that period, that gave way to a bunch of racial massacres like the Tulsa massacre that occurred earlier during the Reconstruction period, where they were burning down whole Black towns, burning down whole Black communities. And so I think that if Trump gets back in, his people wild out so much that you will see another racial massacre.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. And Free Will says, I won't be voting for either one. And he also said, no, not voting. And good evening to Dr. Tachi, the driving force behind Indie Soup Media. Always a pleasure to have you here, Dr. Tachi.
I have one thing to say about that, though. You know, voting is always your choice. It's your right. But I see it this way. If you don't vote, don't say anything about how the country's run. I don't have an opinion about what's not being done, because you're not doing your part to ensure that the things that you want to see done get done. That is how I honestly feel. I felt that way since I started. From the first time I voted, I felt that way when I worked on different campaigns, and people telling me, "Oh, so and so should do this." Well, do you vote? No. Okay, then keep your mouth shut. Period. Because yeah, you can have your opinion about how the government is going, but when you don't vote, you keep the thing.
Right. You didn't
keep that going.
You didn't even bother to try to help our country.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
You know, and your vote, and again, your vote, particularly on those down ballot races, is you helping yourself. That is how you help yourself. Period.
Let's move forward. Next. Go ahead, LaLa. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know what, Aisha, those are the people we can't help, because you know what? They've already set themselves into a position of where they feel like they're right, and it is their right not to. So, you know, I don't understand how you can join our conversation with us when you know that's what we talk about. I really don't understand that concept. If you have something to say about our government, but you don't choose to voice your opinion with your vote, I don't understand it. Make me understand, please, because I
don't think we can, because the last time he was here, he was commenting on my eyeshadow.
Yeah. All right. Free Will. He also says the degree of politics based in the USA is a 1% based ideology. Vote don't mean anything, in my opinion. JJ Mars says this: Free Will, if you don't vote in the president election, at least vote in your local elections. There are a ton of bigoted city council members, district attorneys, school board members, etc., judges, etc. All right.
And let's be clear. Moms of Liberty, I don't think people understand this history of connections. The things that the Republican Party is doing now, the things that they want to do with Project 2025 are connected to history. Moms for Liberty did not happen by accident. They are well funded. But you know what else they are, and what they literally took these things out of these things to put into their plan for us. You know where they got them from? The White Citizens Council manuals from the 1950s and 60s.
Say that again.
And if you don't know what the White Citizens Councils are, those were a group of white women who were well funded, who were very upset about the Brown v. Board of Education. And so they put pressure on school boards to slow integration. They were the ones who, when people like Ruby Freeman or the Little Rock Nine were to integrate, what they did was they took their initiative, went to the school districts and said, you know what, we don't like this integration. Shut down the schools for a while until we figure out this thing. And you know what they did? They shut down all the schools in Little Rock for almost a year.
Yep.
Closed them all because of the integration. And when they opened them back up, what they did in that time that they closed, they built religious schools. To send that were lily white, to send their children. So these religious schools could then make the choice not to integrate. And that's how you get things like Little Rock High School that you see the change of the population to being a largely Black population, because these people started sending their kids there, and then they just kept doing it for generations and generations. So just so you know, Moms for Liberty took all of the the plan that and it's like 100-page plan. I read it and then I looked at Moms for Liberty. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it, like almost word for word. That's where they got it from, and that's what they're doing. So when you say your vote doesn't mean anything, and I'm gonna, you know what? I told a story about my grandmother. I'm gonna use my grandmother's words. If you don't vote about this, and these women come in, these gonna take over, and they are going to make lives miserable for Black people. They're going to put pressure on these schools. Oh, you have to have a Black graduation, not a white graduation. There will be no Black history in our schools. We need to redo this textbook because I think it's going to make my child feel better. So you have to just put Martin Luther King down to say that the civil rights movement was about Martin Luther King in 2 sentences, and then we go on to this. So be very clear. None of what the Project 2025 is going to do down ballot, okay? Down ballot is going to be something that they just came up with. They are pulling from a Jim Crow era, a post-Reconstruction era. They are pulling from pre-20th century laws that they want to put in effect. And then they're going to take those early civil rights laws from the 1800s and 1900s, turn them around and weaponize them against us. They already did that. That is how the Fearless Fund lost the case. The guy took a civil rights doctrine from 1897 that was geared to help Black people and turned it against this group of Black women who give grants to other Black women's businesses. So,
all right, let's move on. And look, Free Will, respect your opinion. We have your opinion, and that's why we want to make this a safe and brave space. He also says parties are like a ball team; they change depending on the players. Dr. Chachi says it's so interesting how people like, I think she corrected in our next comment, vote against their base interest. The colonized mind is something else. JJ Mars says, Free Will, many of the city leaders from Ferguson, Missouri were voted out after the FBI publicly announced the city leaders were very racist. So voting can work. Yeah. And Free Will says, I agree with the guy that said local politics. National, they're already set. So let's move on.
And all right. Think and I can understand that. So, but make sure that you do vote for the locals at least.
All right. Next story up. This man never seems to go away. Alex Jones ordered to liquidate assets to pay for Sandy Hook damages as Sandy Hook shooting survivors graduate without 20 of their classmates.
Can I start this?
So he's now going across the platforms crying, woo-hoo, I'm so poor. This is what I do. They're punishing me. Look at what he did to these families.
Yeah, I'm here in Connecticut where this happened. Okay. I remember that day very, very vividly. They didn't just shut down schools in Newtown. They shut down every school in the state because they did not know if this man was going. I couldn't get to my child. And I'm watching on TV and the numbers elevating. And to see it was 20 kids, 20 first graders, was very sad. These parents, let me tell you what happened. I'm going to tell you a story about how these parents found out. They had the fire station open after the shooting and told parents to go there to meet their children. And then parents were left. You started to see people leave. And then there were 20 sets of parents still there waiting. One set of parents had one of their children who did survive, but no other children were coming. The governor had to go in and tell those parents that their children were dead. And he gave an interview on our local news. And the thing that he said was he had never heard anything like it. The screaming, the crying, people were outside and could hear these people in agony over this. And Alex Jones single-handedly turned this into something that he used to elevate his platform by telling
His
people
coffers
it
and
was
his coffers.
right, and his pockets by telling people it was a hoax. And it really pisses me off because I live here. I was here. I remember there was no hoax. It is not a hoax. Okay?
And imagine how all these parents feel.
Yeah.
They've lost their children. And now you have some idiot out here talking about that this is some hoax. Well, okay, where are their children if
Right.
it was a hoax?
Right.
Where are their children?
Yeah. And let's go further too, because Alex Jones had the same impact on his audience that Donald Trump has on his fan base. They were swatting these families. They were harassing these families. The families had death threats.
Yeah.
Death threats because they lost their kids. These families have had to move and move and move, change identities.
While grieving, still grieving.
Right. While still breathing. It put it this way, it is so that the graduation for that class of kids that would have that you know were lost their classmates, some survived, some didn't, though that class just graduated the same day that Alex Jones was ordered to liquidate assets to pay for the damages. He's going to lose his platform, but even more, they had the graduation at an undisclosed location because of all the crap that he did.
And now I've got for those who are watching live on the replay, I've got a story here, and you can't see if you're just listening audio wise, but judge orders Alex Jones personal assets liquidated to pay for Sandy Hook families, but dismisses the InfoWars bankruptcy case. What's that?
I'm sorry, say that again.
No, but the story I have on this, like on the screen, that they are dismissing his bankruptcy case. Does that make sense?
No.
Wait, so they're not going to let him liquidate?
Well, okay, let me put the story back. It says judge orders Alex Jones' personal assets liquidated to pay for Sandy Hook, but dismisses InfoWars bankruptcy case. So Alex Jones' personal assets must be liquidated to pay the families of Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting victims over the conspiracy theorists' false claims that a massacre was a hoax. A federal judge.
But that makes sense. That makes sense because guess what? If they dismiss the bankruptcy case, basically they're saying no, you can't file bankruptcy.
That's right. That's
protect
right.
yourself from not paying these people.
Okay, got it.
Because if they allow that to go through, then they can't come after his money.
Right. That's what Rudy Giuliani thinks that he's doing right now.
Okay, so I just wanted clarity on that. And Dr. Tachi says, good for him. That's what I know what she means by AJ gets. I could care less of any of these people are bankrupt and live in cardboard boxes on the street. You reap what you sow. And their Fearless Fund lost their case battle, but hello, Alice won.
Yep.
White women continue to win whether they vote for their best interests or not.
Yeah, they do.
And guess what? With
They
the
know
Fearless
that.
Fund, yeah,
They know that's their superpower.
right. And guess what? With the Fearless Fund, the funny thing is that they actually have several pots of money that they draw from for different things. They do have one where white people can get the grant, but they've picked on that one thing to say that they can't give those grants, which means guess what? They can't give the other ones either. So that becomes a problem. But Dr. Tachi mentioned these people living in cardboard boxes. Actually, I just started writing a book called Cardboard People.
There we go. There you go. And Dr. Tachi agrees with Michelle Hayward exactly on that. So, Alex.
And the other thing too about the Fearless Fund and things, and going back to our earlier conversations too, the one thing we have to be on point about is that all this talk about the Joe Biden's going to lose the black vote, not whatever. We have to remember that dialogue they're setting up the dialogue so that if Joe Biden wins, everybody can blame black people. and then saying, oh, Black people are not going to come out to vote. Well, if Donald Trump wins, they're going to blame Black people. So it is, remember, this is how they are setting up to blame us for everything.
But that's what they've always done historically.
But what they're not, the reason I say that is because, remember, there's one population that they're not going to blame. Joe Biden, if Joe Biden loses, it's because 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump. Period. That is, they blamed Black people for Hillary Clinton losing. No, it's because 51% of white women voted for Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton. That's how we got the overturning of Roe. Period.
All right. Michelle Hayward says anti-DEI is actually anti-Black.
Exactly.
And she also says white women. And I do say there are more non-melanated people in America for voting than melanated. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, we see that in our conversation for tonight.
And she says, facts. Go on.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, we're going to get to this other conversation, and we're going to see how racism is coming out in our sports with, how people feel about protecting a white woman versus ignoring the Black people who made that entity what it is.
Okay. Next up, and this tells you how crazy it is, how much stuff is going on. We're getting this story fourth on the ladder. Hunter Biden found guilty on all counts in gun case. GOP says DOJ should have charged him more harshly, while saying DOJ overcharged 45 in January 6 document cases.
Hunter Biden is a private citizen. Da-da-da. What
silly season. Silly season. Okay. These people complained because they didn't give him the maximum. They didn't give him the man could face up to 25 years in prison. What are you talking about more harshly? And aren't you all Second Amendment people? Why you're about gun
only when it Aisha, only when it fits their benefit.
Exactly. And now, but at the same time, you're talking about both sides of your mouth. Okay. Now, on the other side of your mouth, you're saying, oh, DOJ overcharged Trump. Hold up. Wait a minute. It was Trump's people that charged Hunter Biden in the first place. In the Biden administration, a Trump appointed special counsel, right? And so that is that. And then this thing about overcharging Trump. I'm sorry. I read the indictments. He did it. He got charged for what he did, period. And guess what? You're talking about overcharging him in the January 6th documents case. Well, guess what? He's got a judge that keeps kicking the ball down the road. So the case is active. What are you talking about? Why are you complaining? Why are you crying?
We saw that.
She just did something else this week that helped him.
Yeah, totally. Her motives are very clear. But I think she did step on herself this time. I think people are going to be starting to call for her to step down.
They're going to kick this to the 11th Circuit Court, which was the conservative court that told her she was wrong the last time.
Yeah.
She don't want to be spanked twice.
Right.
Based on Hunter Biden, do you think he'll spend any prison time?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to get some time. But here's the thing. Look at the difference. First of all, he was struggling with drugs, which we know we have an epidemic in this country of that. But they're only using this to serve their purpose of trying to punish the Biden administration. Right. Whereas Biden actually did come out and say, I'm not pardoning him. Whereas, and he's always stood firm with his children. Okay, let's be very firm about that. He's being the good father in this case. But the fact that they went after him in the first place was nothing but a vindictive thing that they were doing. They wanted to make sure that they punished him for what he did for Trump. Well, Biden did nothing to Trump except win.
Yeah. And here's the other part of it too. Remember, not only did they go after him with these counts, they tried to humiliate him in the process, showing Marjorie Taylor Greene showing naked pictures of him in a committee meeting was insane. But here's my other point. Okay. Donald Trump is on the ballot. Hunter Biden is not. He is not running for anything. He does not hold any office at all. Why are we comparing a private citizen to a political candidate? Period. That is it. Because
they've set their precedent. They're going to come for you.
And let's be clear. Let's be very, very clear. He's being charged with lying on an application for a gun permit because he was high. I don't know any person who's been on drugs, and I do have family members who have struggled with addiction, that when you see them, you know they're high, but if you ask them if they're high, they will tell you no. I don't know any drug addict that ever admits to being high.
Or even knowing how high they are, to be honest.
Right. And so, of course, he said no. But here's the other part too, is that if the Republicans passed background checks,
which they won't.
They could have done a background, when he did the application, they could have done a background check on Hunter Biden and found out that he has a very well documented history of addiction.
Exactly. Which goes to show you that they're really not interested. They're not interested in that. They don't want to do that. But yet they want to punish someone to be vindictive instead of running our country.
Yeah.
Is it just all because of the last name?
Yes.
Of course. But put it this way, right? What was one of the things that Donald Trump said, and it's also in Project 2025, is that he wants to arrest and charge the entire Biden family.
Yeah.
Because he has been convicted of, he's got felonies and he's got other pending cases that he's indicted on. I'm sorry. You know what? If any of us here was trying to go to the White House and we had a felony, we could not get into the White House. If Donald Trump wins, they're going to break the law and let a felon into the White House. He is a felon.
And vote. Let's not forget.
They're letting this felon also vote. They're not taking away his voting rights. And personally, talking about two-tier justice system, yes, Donald Trump, in your favor. Because guess what? If any other person did what you did and was convicted on 34 felony counts, they would not be able to get up and walk out the courtroom and go home. They would be taken immediately. They'd be taken sitting in county jail until their sentencing. Period.
I literally last weekend I was vegging out. I rarely get a chance to veg out. But I got caught up in the Netflix documentary that was Hitler and the Nazis, Evil on Trial.
Yeah.
And I literally sat there because I thought, oh, let me just put this on. I'll probably go to sleep. I ended up watching this whole thing and thinking, oh, my God, this is the playbook. Oh, my God, this is the playbook. Everything that happened with Hitler is right here in our faces again. Right. And what happens? We are doomed to repeat history because we don't know the history. Not very many people know the history, nor do they take the time to see. They just grab on to what other people are saying without doing their own research. But we are actually marching down the same path that Hitler did.
Yeah,
and words are being said the exact same way. And the rhetoric, the exact same way. And it's very frightening because we're seeing it before our eyes, knowing history that happened.
Well, you know, here's the thing. You want to do your own research. There are two books that you need to put side by side. Forget about what I said. Forget about what Joe Biden does. Let's focus on Donald Trump. And the two books you need to put side by side and look at are Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler and the Project 2025.
Yeah.
Because when you do that and you look at them side by side, you see that they're taking from Mein Kampf and putting it into Project 2025.
Yeah.
And why would they do that? Guess who said his favorite book? What his favorite book was, and what his ex-wife said he kept on the nightstand. Trump. Mein Kampf is his favorite book.
Wow.
I literally got emotional at that. I'm really sitting here now, actually with tears getting ready to roll down my face, because as much as our country is, it's still our country. And the fact that I am seeing my country go down in flames over basic hatred for no reason at all disgusts me to my core. The fights that we are having out here in the streets, the arguments that we are having with our basic human beings, they don't care. This is they up there don't care, because as long as we are fighting and we're doing the puppet strings that they're holding for us, they will always be the ones in power. They will always talk to your emotions. They will always talk to what you want and your hopes and your dreams, knowing that they will never give it to you.
Right.
And as long as we allow them to do that, we are.
And let me tell you something about the people I taught. Lyndon B. Johnson said this. It is true that it was true then. It is true now. It has always been true. And he said that if you tell the poorest white man that he is better than a colored man, you can easily pick his pockets. And that is what Donald Trump is doing. That was what the Southern strategy was. That's the other thing. Put those three things together. Mein Kampf, the Southern strategy, you can find it out there, and Project 2025. You take Mein Kampf, you take the Southern strategy, and guess what you have? You have Project 2025.
It's the
Period.
same.
All right, let's move on. Our final conversation topic: white fans on X/Twitter claiming WNBA Caitlin Clark has it worse than Jackie Robinson did when he broke the color line in pro baseball.
Okay, so I had to go off on somebody today.
I saw that.
Twice. Okay, I repeated myself twice, and you could show those screenshots. It's fine, Dr. Vibe, if you want to. I had to go off because this one guy said that Caitlin Clark had it worse than Jackie Robinson. No, Caitlin Clark is our era's Jackie Robinson. No, the hell she isn't. Let me tell you something about her skills. I'm going to say these things about her skills, and I'm going to tell you why the Jackie Robinson thing pisses me off. First of all, she has the most turnovers in the history of the WNBA. I'm not saying she's not a good ball player. She was an excellent ball player in college. This is the pros. She's not leveling up, okay? Period. She gets knocked down or bumped or whatever, and these people lose their freaking minds. And here's the thing. She should have known what she was getting into. Those women in the W are worse than the men in the NBA. They cut elbows. Look, they will cut. Okay, they will cut elbows, flat pushing. They even fight. So let's be very clear. This is a serious league, okay? These women, Caitlin Clark will only have to play for the WNBA season. The WNBA season lasts from May until about September. And part of the reason it's going to last that long this year is because they've got to pause it for the Olympics, because a lot of players are going to the Olympics. And so it will last until September. It is a very short season. They have a very short season. There are only 12 teams in the league, 144 players. So first of all, with that being said, it is harder for people to get drafted because they only have a limited number of spots, period. But this is the pros. You should expect her to be handled like a pro, but these women are going to be, these women do something she's not going to be doing. Okay. She does not have to play ball all year round to get paid, because remember, these women only get paid about $75,000 period for the year. So they play in other countries and in other leagues throughout the rest of the year to make up for the income. She's not going to have to, because she got a $38 million deal with Reebok to come up with a sneaker. Okay. So she entered that way. First of all, this complaint about her not being able to be picked for the Olympic team, let me tell you something. And then them saying that she should replace Brittany Griner. First of all, Brittany Griner has gotten America two gold medals in the Olympics. Okay. It's not like the Olympics are going anywhere and we're not having another one after this. Give her 4 years. I'm sorry, but with the amount of turnovers that she's made, having the most in record history of the 27-year history of the WNBA, no, she shouldn't go. No. But now these people out here talking about, because she is being treated like everyone else in the league, and she's not being treated special, that she has it worse than what Jackie Robinson did. Jackie Robinson had death threats. He got spit on. They called him all kinds of racial slurs. And like I said, they would go to hotels, the team bus. If they toured the team bus, he was the only person who had to sit in the back of the bus. And then when they got to certain hotels or certain restaurants, they would go to these ones that only served whites. And so he couldn't go in. He'd sit on the bus and have to wait for somebody to bring him food after those people ate. Okay. And so he had to wait for his teammates to finish eating before he could eat. And then when they would go to hotels, he wasn't allowed in the same hotels that they were. So he would either have to find a local Black hotel, which, a lot of them would have remained,
or the network of people who allowed people in their home
to stay with them. Yes, he had to go do that, or sleep on the bus. I'm sorry, Caitlin Clark has it worse than Jackie Robinson. Caitlin Clark got chartered flights from the W that, guess what? The other players never got them. They were flying coach to get from game to game to game and paying the tickets themselves. The charter plane that Caitlin Clark got was paid for her. And now you want to talk about people not being treated fairly. The only reason the W switched to chartered flights now was because the Black women on the team said, wait a second, you can't do this to us. So now they get chartered flights. But that is the problem. You know what? These are the pros. Girl, level up your game. And not only that, but I need to put this on the spot. Her brother and her boyfriend are both getting into that racist MAGA stuff. And they're exchanging back and forth bards with people on social media that are very racist. So she's going to have to walk an even finer line, because these Black women aren't going to have that. Knowing, and if she starts talking like these people who are talking for her,
she hasn't yet, right?
No,
she's from what I see,
mm-hmm.
she's been handling okay. The thing so there's a number of dynamics here, because first of all, it's in some ways you can compare it a little bit, though she hasn't accomplished as much yet, if you will, when Larry Bird came to the NBA. Right? Yeah. Larry Bird, at the time, a lot of people call him the Great White Hope. But the thing is, he backed it. He didn't say, like, there were a lot of detractors, and again, realize that we're talking about media that is controlled by people who want to get the clicks.
Well, also too, They're corporate media. So remember, we found out this week that the Sinclair Broadcasting owns 200 local stations throughout the country and gave them all the same script, the right-wing script, as part of their newscast. It wasn't true. None of the information was true. So guess what? Those organizations are gonna keep this going.
Yeah. So I think, there was a lot of hype about Caitlin Clark. Did a lot of great things. Remember, she hasn't won anything, whether it's in college or the post. So
grab on to somebody and make them the poster child.
But that's the thing. Remember, we all know the world of media. Mm-hmm. So she's a great story. I have to respect, because she's not going for the bait. Now, people around her are going for the bait, but she's not going for the bait. The thing is how long will the media keep it going? As long as she's not performing spectacular, it can only last for so long until she has to start weighing. But as I said, for her, I like how she's handling it. It's all the stuff around her. And then another thing, before she graduated college, Ice Cube offered her a ridiculous amount of money to join his 3-on-3 league. So, Ice Cube, why don't you offer something like that to an Angel Reese? But obviously, Caitlin Clark has more media clicks. Whether right or wrong.
Or better yet, why don't you offer that to Diana Taurasi, who is Latina, and is the most 3-point scorer in the league?
Because again, Caitlin Clark's got the hype.
But here's the other part too, that bothers me more than anything. Those folks are going to do those folks. They're going to race bait. They're going to continue to do that, whatever. But the thing that disturbs me the most is the black men caping for her on social media and on TV and on these sports channels, because I don't see them defending the black women of the W. I really don't, ever. If they've got this much support for Caitlin Clark, where was their support for Brittany Griner when she was in Russia? What was it? Sharp, whatever his name is, said the thing about Stephen A. Smith talking about Caitlin Clark not getting into the
he got into it with
Olympics.
a black lady commentary.
And Sha'Carri Robinson. Well, guess what?
I can't remember her name.
Sha'Carri Richards. But I'm like,
no. But no, there's a commentator on ESPN. It's a lady. Him and her got into a back and forth on one of his shows. I can't remember her name, but sorry to interrupt. Keep on going.
But they're making these comparisons about, so Sha'Carri Richards. Well, she got into the Olympics. If she can get into the Olympics after what happened the last time with the drug thing, they should take Caitlin Clark. Have you people lost your minds? She qualified. She made the qualifications. And let's be very clear, too. Caitlin Clark has only played professional, but mostly, if I'm not mistaken, all the women on the WNBA, on the Olympic team are WNBA players. They play it in the pros. If not here, they might play overseas. They play it in the pros, okay? She has only been in the pros 2 months. She has not performed well in the pros. Right. Why would she qualify for the Olympic team? So you want to place these people talking about wanting to replace people that have guaranteed wins in the past with someone who can't stop turning over. And if you don't understand what turning over means, it literally means someone taking the ball from her and going in the opposite direction toward their basket. Okay? That keeps happening to her. And I'll tell you why it happens to her in the W, because those women don't dribble high. She dribbles high, standing up. Those women go really low. And that's how they get under you to get those balls.
The media is going to cover what's hot. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people are in this. And again, it's a hot topic because race is involved. Right? The race is involved. It would be, I think, would we be hearing as much if Caitlin Clark started out her professional career as well as she ended her college career?
No.
So
These people want to play. They want to change the rules. That's the other part that bothers me, is that they want the WNBA to change the rules, basically lowering standards so she can perform better. It is insane.
well, one thing I was questioning about is that player from I can't remember what team that just pushed her on it when there was. I didn't think that was necessary, and also the bench cheering about that. That was a little iffy to me. But
guess what happened the same night?
Right?
Angel Reese got knocked out worse than what happened to Caitlin Clark.
Both are wrong.
And you know what she did? Well, no, those are flagrant fouls, but that's the game. That is the game. People make flagrant fouls all the time. The men do it. Why are we complaining when the women do it?
And I agree with you, but the only little concern about that is the whole bench got up and cheered when that happened.
Yeah, and
that's a little bit questionable.
That's questionable, but you can't account for other people's behaviors, but to blame it on the players. This is the part that bothers me, is they're mad that someone got a flagrant foul on her. Well, guess what? Somebody hit Brittany Griner in the face and got a flagrant foul, and you know what she did? She got up and kept going. You know what? No one cheered for when Angel Reese got that. People cheered about her getting hit too. They cheered about that. People who support Caitlin Clark cheered about that. And guess what she did? She got up and kept it moving. And so I have a lot of smoke for all these people talking about this, because I love the WNBA.
I know you're very passionate about it. I think the nice thing is the way the Angel and Caitlin are handling themselves through all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're handling it better than a lot of their alleged fans and the media.
But you got to remember, they train these players on how to handle the press, on how to do media junkets. A couple of years ago, there was this behind the scenes of how they train the WNBA once the season starts. The training starts like in late March, and they have these different classes and things that they have to take. So they take something on how to deliver, how to talk to the media, how to do the panel questions, dressing up for a game, before the game. They used to have it. And then the women complained and they stopped. A workshop on how to apply makeup. And then you have all these women, a lot of them saying, wait, I don't even wear makeup. So they got rid of that, but they also were considering, because remember the WNBA is controlled by the NBA, they were also considering having these women playing skirts. And these girls were like, what? Or shorter shorts. And these women were like, what? This is basketball. We need to be loose and free and, comfortable to play. And some of these women don't ever wear skirts. Okay? So it is, let's put it this way. It's almost akin to what they did to women when, to white women specifically, because Black women weren't allowed to join, when the women took over the baseball league during World War II.
Yeah.
And that is how they modeled the WNBA. So, I mean, they handle themselves because they're trained to, and they just keep their training. There was an interesting exchange, actually, where sometimes they do go off script, and one of the players was asked, well, what does the bench need to do to help you in the next game? And she looked at him and she's like, is that a question? For real? I mean, are you serious? And she said, what did they do the last time? He said, oh, they played well and made their shots. Okay, what they do today? He said they didn't play well. Okay, so what do they need to do next time? Play well and get their shots. Okay, she got up and left. Because it was a dumb question.
Me, I'm just trying to figure out who's got the ball. They move so fast.
That's the other thing. The women move a lot faster than the men too.
Well, the women's game is much. I find it a better game, and it's more fundamentals than the men's college games. Oh, you're all good. Anything else you want to add on this one, LaLa? You stayed very quiet, but I guess your comment said it all. I'm just trying to follow the ball.
I am.
That is classic.
No, but I had to handle a few people on this question today, and then someone. It was the funniest thing because the guy, he said he tried to bait me by using Jason Whitlock. Well, Jason Whitlock said such and such and such and such, and I said, "Are you serious? You're using Jason Whitlock to tell to explain what he says about Black people?" I'm like, first of all, he has zero credibility in the Black community. Okay, all he does is say the things that you want to hear so you don't feel as racist as you are. And that's what I told him. He said, well, I'm done with this conversation. I'm going to go do pool and such. And I'm like, IDAGF. I don't give a... What does you going in your pool and going cruising have to do with me?
She has quick comebacks, man. I just follow her just because she has such great comebacks. I'm trying to learn from her.
And then somebody else joined in, and I was like, oh, and he said something about the woke left or whatever, and I'm saying
I like to go to that garbage.
And I told him, I said, you know what? I'd rather be woke left than stupid right.
Okay, on that note, we are finished today's conversation with a mic drop from Aisha K. Staggers. Well, as always, ladies, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to educate us in many different areas. And as always, before we would let you go, we need you to identify where people, if they wish to, I was going to say if they're brave enough, but I say if they wish to hang out with you. So first things first, from the blue.
From the blue, it is LaLa. You can find me very easily. I make it easy, guys. So you can follow me at this link here, bit.ly/Laura Key Info. You'll get all of my social media posts as well as some freebies.
All right, fantastic. And I finally changed it up. There we go.
Yes, you can have conversations with me on Instagram or X Twitter. If you want to see my my clapback, my quick clapbacks.
Okay, all right, 100%. All right, so myself, you can catch me at various places. The drvibeshow.com on the website, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram at the drvibeshow.com, X/Twitter at drvibeshow, and email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And an interesting thing, a number of people watch us live on Twitter, and I keep on getting fascinated. I thought Twitter was done, but we get a lot of people watching us on those platforms. So thank you. I didn't know that like people did the Twitter thing, but I guess with Aisha's clapbacks and other comments on Twitter, she's developed a little bit of a following. So it's all good. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just putting their contact information on all the platforms that you that are watching this live on the replay. And unfortunately, if you're listening it audio wise, I can't write it on audio. I can only share it. So there you go. So just before we close down, Regina Ferris, says, good night all. I don't know if you're just jumping in or you've been watching the whole time. I have a feeling that you may be needing to watch a replay. Freewell says, thank you, Dr. Vibe, I appreciate you. And he also says, Aisha, my apologies. And then Ryan says, quote, I'd rather be woke left than stupid right. Perfect quote. Ryan, you are hard. We're loving you. We're loving you. Three Will says, thank you for all your time. Jen, as always, fan number 1. Absolutely. Great conversation as always. So let's close it out with one last thing I got to do here. You can watch replays of this epic conversation at the Dr. Vibe Show, the drvibeshow show.com, and also the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And what I'm going to do, what else I'm going to do? Should I do it again? Let me do it again. This is the final things. Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa the Patreon address there. It's also in the comment section on most of the platforms you're watching live or on replay. Also, there is the link for the store. Join the Primetime Saturday Discord group. Email me, dr.vibe@thedr.com. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, email me, dr.vibe@thedr.com. All right, let's see. There's a few more comments. Regina says, yes, I have to watch replay. Sorry, but it'll be worth your while. All right, we close out with this, as always. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourselves grace. Again, we're broadcasting this live on June 15th. Tomorrow is Father's Day. We didn't get, and so you know what? I forgot, but we should have had a little shout out to all the fathers around the world. So I will say it on behalf of the two wonderful ladies. Fathers, wherever you are, happy Father's Day to the fathers, dads, and male caregivers. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith, walk good, and we'll catch you next week.